Okay, so I'm going to talk about two earthquakes, Kaikoura, New Zealand on the left, Kumamoto, Japan on the right, that are two of the first events we have with pre- and post-earthquake LiDAR coverage. So I'm going to be talking about this new suite of techniques for imaging fault zone deformation. Jumping straight in, Kaikoura is well known as one of the most complex earthquakes we've ever observed. At least 20 individual faults ruptured. The earthquake took about 85 seconds to rupture 120 kilometers. It occurred at midnight, so only 2 people were killed, but this has actually caused a huge impact to the South Island of New Zealand. This rupture basically parallels the major transportation route between Christchurch and the North Island, and so the Christchurch is the largest city on the South Island. So we've seen some spectacular examples of landslides triggered by the earthquake, also some surface rupturing faulting that you can see displacing the rail lines. These landslides are actually ongoing, and the recent cyclone Gita reactivated some of the material that was generated in this earthquake. So I'm getting behind here already. I did have a pint before my talk. So some of the science questions are outlined here. One of the key questions here, and I'm going to skip this bottom part, is how the rupture got from the southern faults, shown in red on the left, to the northern faults on the right, whether they were linked by slip on the subduction thrust. So I'm going to skip over. You can read Kate's paper in EPSL to get that slide. I'm going to be talking about 3D differencing. So we take a pre-earthquake point cloud, a post-earthquake point cloud. We difference them using an iterative closest point algorithm. Details in these two papers here. This gives us 3D deformation. Here I'm just showing a little snapshot of the coastal LiDAR strip that we have. This is the Papatia fault. You can see on the right, these are just showing the vertical displacements. Decorrelation here is caused by landsliding. We don't see decorrelation along the fault. This is where this improves on INSAR. We see in the north-south displacements, we're seeing the left lateral offset that you can see to the road and the rail line, clearly outlined in the north-south displacements. And when we get to the east-west displacements, you'll see the shortening component. And if I had my pint, I'd probably take a sip here, because now I've got ahead of myself. And I've forgotten what's coming next, so I've got to wait. Come on. Okay, so this is the really spectacular part. So now we're going away from the coast up the Clarence Valley, which is another region we had LiDAR, spectacular landsliding. These cows had 5 minutes of fame. You would have seen them on your Twitter feeds. Beautiful, amazing fault scarp, the Papatia fault, goes up this valley. These show 2 profiles through the X, Y, and Z displacement fields. We get the throw, the heave, the left lateral. We can get the dip of the fault. There was only a single exposure of the dip. Now, I'm from London. Imperial units for height in London are in double-decker buses. This is a 10-meter high fault scarp, so that's 2.5 double-decker buses. Absolutely phenomenal. You can imagine what the geologists who came here the week after the earthquake and they saw a fault scarp that high and they couldn't believe it. And they literally couldn't believe it. So I come from INSAR, so I'm used to line-of-sight displacements. One of the cool things about differential LiDAR is we get absolute displacement fields. So the south side of the fault went south and up. The east side of the fault went west and didn't change vertically. There's some landsliding we can see there too. Moving on to Kumamoto, magnitude 7 strike slip earthquake. Here we were sort of fortunate from the LiDAR perspective. There was a foreshock, and they flew LiDAR after the foreshock to look at the foreshock. Happened to be the day before the main shock, and then a week later they got a second data set. So we have a pair of LiDAR scenes that rival INSAR in terms of the repeat time, just 8-day interval. It's a phenomenal data set to play with. This shows the horizontal displacement field. These are displacements resolved into fault parallel. This is work by Leah, who's in the audience. Field measurements in black. Clearly we get much better sampling of the fault, and our slip distribution on the right there in blue obviously is much more dense than the field one. Chelsea Scott, who's a postdoc at ASU, has been going from displacement fields to strain, looking at how the fault zone itself deforms and strains within the earthquake. And what the LiDAR gives you, because it doesn't decorrelate, is the shallow part of the slip that INSAR misses. Another thing you can see when you go into certain parts of the LiDAR is actual building damage. And you can see before and after DTMs, or digital surface models, a difference on the right showing individual buildings that have collapsed. And this is my last slide, so I can just point you to a recent paper that came out that was highlighted in EOS a couple of weeks ago, showing how this can actually be done. And the aim would be to do this rapidly following as part of the earthquake response to actually look for individual building damage in a big earthquake. Thank you very much.